So in today's session, I'm going to focus on data structures part first, and then strings. Particularly, I want to talk about the substrings part. And then if time permits, we'll first look at the basics in NumPy. So when I start with the data structures part, first of all, we need to understand what data structures are. In simple terms, it means we can store data in different ways in these structures. And each of these structures, they have various different characteristics. So depend on how you store the data, you can do various different things. So in Python, there are 4 built-in data structures: list, tuple, dictionary, and set. So let's start with the list first. Now, list, what you need to remember is it's an ordered collection of items. So when I say ordered collection of items, that means you can specify a particular order of items. So when I say particular order of items, it could be numbers, it could be images, it could be strings, anything, but we specify particular order. Second one, you need to understand these are enclosed with square brackets. So since you have enclosed with the square brackets, when you see square brackets and comma separate multiple items, you can think, or you can take it as a list. Once you create the list, you can add, you can remove, you can search, which means you can actually simply modify, right? Or we can say manipulate the list. So therefore, we use a special term. So list is the data type. We say it's a mutable data type. Right. With that said, let's look at implementing this one. I'm going to open up again the Colab environment. And then I will explain this. Right. Hope you can see my screen. Yes. Okay. First of all, as I told you earlier, like what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a simple list. I'm going to say it's a number list. And as I told you earlier, we will use square brackets. So what is this? If I just put a square bracket and immediately close it, okay, you don't have anything inside. Therefore, this is known as an empty list. Let me put up some numbers. I'm going to have a numbered list. So I'm going to say 11, right, and 2, 23, 45, 50. So we have created a number list to store 5 numbers. Right. Now, this is how you actually create the list. And when you run it, you don't see any output, but in the memory, you save 11 numbers, and then you say that it's a list of numbers. Second one, when you print it, it's just a variable. So we can print as it is. We can simply say, okay, print number list. And then you will notice that, okay, it will print as it is. So you have a list of numbers. So you can try the type as well. If you say type number list, you will notice that this is a class list. So all the data types in Python are implemented as classes. So you see it's a class list. Right. So what we did, we create a number list. We start with the square brackets, comma separated. When you just print, it print as it is. The type is a list. Okay, now this is a list of numbers. I hope from the understanding about for loops, I remember I told you for loops can be used, right? To iterate through a sequence of items. So list is a sequence of items. So therefore, I will put something called number list. and we'll say print I. So what happens here? It will go through each and every item in the list, and then we'll print it. So we have 5 numbers. So it will print, right? Each number at a time. So what happens since we have a list of numbers here, right? The variable I takes one item at a time and it'll print it. And you get one item after the other items. Right. So now that we have created a number list, so we say number list and we have 5 numbers, we print it and we print it using a for loop, which prints one item at a time. Now let me explain how to access individual items. So when I say number list, you have 5 values inside, right? And then we use something called an index value. So what do you mean by index? Index indicates the location. For example, if you want to access the first item, this is how we will type. We'll say print number list and we put 0. So here 0 is indicating the index value. We call index 0 means first item. So let me put a comment here. Index 0 means the first item. Yes, you see 11. Give me the command. If you access third item, what is the command? If you want to access the third item, what is the command? Exactly. So if you want to access the third item, so I got a couple of answers. Thanks for sharing your answers in the chat. Okay, if you want to print number list 2, so simply you are accessing third item, right? Yes, agree? It's 23. It's a third item, right? Good. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to understand. Second one, how do you add items? Right. I'm going to explain adding items to the list. For that, I will discuss about append, using append and insert. Right. Now, can you check the help file and tell me what happens with append? What happens with append? So you can type help list.append. And then when you type this help, it will say append self object, append object to the end of the list. So it will say that append will append end of the list. For example, let's take our list, number list dot append. I will say 29 and then I will print it. Right? So what happens currently, my list has 5 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one is 15. And if you put append, you will notice that, okay, now 5 becomes 6, 29 is added to the end. Right. Now, similar to that, research on insert, give me the command, right? Use insert to add 20 as the second item. Give me the code for this. Okay, so insert, if you look at the help, you can notice that help list dot insert. If I run it, you will notice that it says, okay, index and the object, whatever the value. So what I said was, I can use number list dot insert. Index is like second item, right? That's what it said. Second item means the index is 1, right? And the value is 20. So I put 20 and let's print it. Number list. And you should see that, okay, 20 is added as a second item. Right. Now that we have done, let me show you how to change the values. Let's say I'm going to change the third item as 30, right? So change third item as 30. So if you want to do that, the first one is we have to say, okay, number list 2. That is the third item, right? And if you do this, if you run this, you will access to number 2. And we want to make it 30. So I put a simple assignment. And when I say number list, you will notice that we have changed the third item to 30. Right. Now tell me how to use sorting. Right. Sorting items. So there's a method called sort, right? Can you give me the code to sort items in ascending order? If you look at the values here, it's not sorted, right? Use sort. Okay. Can you check the help and sort the items in ascending order? Understand how sort works. So if you type, help list dot sort, you will notice that how to use sort. It says sort self key reverse false. When you sort in place, sort sits were modified. So simply we can use. So that means if you use this one, number list dot sort, we'll sort it. Let's print it. Number list. I'm going to remove this part for the time being. Right. If you do that, you know that this will sort, the list will be sorted in ascending order. Right. If you want to do ascend descending, you can take, you can look at help list dot sort. And if you carefully read the documentation, document will say that the reverse flag can be used to sort in descending order as well. So that means you have to set it. Set it means if you look at here, it says reverse false, which means we want to make it reverse true, right? So what you need to do is, if you want to make it descending order, so we will say number list, sort, reverse, we have to make it to true, right? And then if you print number list, so you can notice that this time, this is sorted in descending order. Okay. Next, I would like to discuss how to remove items. There are two ways that you can remove items. Remove the first item. So if you remove item based on the location, use index. The command is del you can say number list and whatever the index you have to type it. So if you want to remove the first item, we put the index 0. And let's print the number list. So you will notice here, right? Now earlier we have 45, 30, 29, 23, 20, 15, and 11. We are removing the first item. So we'll use the index. We'll remove the number list 0, which removes the first item. And we ended up getting this. Right. Now let's remove something based on the value, right? So let me do this. So let's remove 20. 20. Actually, you can use based on the location, but let's say just the number. So we can say number list dot remove. So when I say 20, right, what happens? Yes, what happens? Yes, it's remove the number 20, right? So two ways to remove items. First one based on the index, the location. Second one based on the value. A quick question for you. Okay, so I have put a question like if you have 200 in the list and if you say number list dot remove 100, what happens? That was the question. So to answer that, so look at the help list dot remove. And if you look at this, it says self value. It says remove first occurrences of value. You see, first occurrence only. So let me elaborate. So I will first add hundreds. I will say, okay, number list dot append 100. So that comes the end, right? Then I will say number list dot insert 2, 100, right? Now I'm going to print number list. So if I add 200s, you can notice I have 200 now, right? So let's remove number list dot remove 100. And then if you say print number list, you will notice the first one will remove. This is the first 100, right? If you go from left to right, this is the first 100, it will remove. That's all. Exactly. So there was a answer shared by one of your colleagues. Gunawardhana shared me the screenshot. Good. So you will notice that it will remove from the only the first hundreds. Okay, so going back to the slides. Let's summarize what we have learned in this part. So we learned the list in Python. I highlighted that it's an ordered collection of items and you use square brackets. Once you create, you can manipulate. Therefore, we say mutable. So we learned with a simple number list, we discussed how to print it, how to access items, how to add new items, how to change item, how to sort items, and finally how to remove the item. One final thing I didn't demonstrate, but if you use del number list, we'll remove the whole list. Right. So here are the methods that we have discussed, some of them, not everyone, but make a note of this. If you need the help about list, you can type help list. If you want to know more about just one command, you can say list dot, let's say append, which gives you a help for append method. Right, good. Small exercise. Can you give me the answer for this? Okay, going back to the example given to you. First of all, we have a set of items and we have to put them as string values, right? So you can create a name, put them as a string. Length, we can use len function to get the length of the list. Then adding rise to the list, you can use append or insert. Maybe we can use append. Sorting the list, we can say sort. Print in the first item, we can use list with the index 0. Remove in the first item, we can use list 1. List again 0 to say the first item, and you print the list. So I don't think it's that difficult. So I already got couple of answers, and thanks for sharing. Okay, but I will discuss slight modification of this, right? And elaborate. Okay. So let me move on to my Colab session. So I will share my Colab session. Right, we can see here. Right. So I can use shopping list or something, right? And then we can do this. So I can say, okay, shopping list. And then you can add the items. So in my previous one, I could use things like apple, right? Mango, carrot, and banana, right? Okay. And we can say print shopping list. We'll print it. And if you print length, you can say length shopping list, right? And then you can print the items in the list. We can say print shopping list, or you can use a for loop. And then adding rice, you can say shopping list dot append. I will say rice will append to the list and will print shopping list. So if I do this, you will notice it will say apple, mango, carrot, and banana. And finally, we have added to the list. So sorting list is easy. We can say shopping list dot sort, and you can print it again, right? So if I do this, you will notice that, okay, it's sorted apple, banana, carrot, mango, and rice, sorted in alphabetical order. If you want to remove, you can say shopping list will say 0. We can say del to delete it. Based on this, we'll remove the first item. First of all, you are asked to print only the first item, so that I will do shopping list 0, and we'll remove it, and we'll print the list. Right, that's all. Right, so you can notice here, we access the first item, that is apple, and we'll remove it, then you end up with this one. That's the exercise given for you. Good. We'll move to the next one. Right, next one, I'm going to talk about nested lists. Now, this ID is very, very important because if you want to represent data also we have to represent using nested lists, or we can also represent matrices as a nested list. So understanding this is very, very important. So let me explain this with a very simple example, which we discussed shopping list, but let's have items and quantities like this. This time I'm going to say my shopping list. I'm going to have a modify list, and this is called empty list, right? We don't have anything here. So let's add something. I'm going to say shopping list append I'll append two things. I will append apple and then number 5, which indicates that I need like 5 apples. So if you print the shopping list, right, you will notice that, okay, you have just 5 mangoes, 5 apples. So list within another list, therefore we call this as nested list. Then let's add oranges. So I'm going to say my shopping list. I'm going to say append. I will say orange. And this time I'm going to say I'm going to purchase 7 oranges. So if you say print my shopping list, so you can notice that now I have 2 items in the list and we have 7 oranges. Okay, small example. If I want to access the first item, that means 5 apples, what should be my command? What should be the command that I should choose? Yes. I want to access 5 apples. What is the command? So like in previous case, if you want to access the first list item, yes, I can say the first list item. So when I say first list item, it will tell me 5 apples, right? We have 5 apples. So how do you access the apple? Yes. How do you access the item apple? Right now we say 0 and we get 5 apples, right? As a list. My question was like, how do I access apple? Yes. One thing 0 will give you this one. Under that, we want to access apple, right? So that means you can have index here, 0 for apple. So I can say something like this, print my shopping list. We have 0 and 0. Can you notice? It says apple. Right. Another one. Can you give me the answer for this? Change number of apples to 7. Okay, can you give me the command for this? So going back to sets, it's a unique items unordered. So you can notice here that the order is not the same as what we have entered. So it will not preserve any order. It's arbitrary. Then you can add a single item using add. You can add multiple items using update as an array. So 6 is added arbitrary. And then 6, 7 is also there. So 6 is already there. 7 is and 8 is added. Right. And then you can remove item number 2. So it's not there. Like, let me say 6. Let's remove it. It's removed. And if you try to rerun, you will get an error. Of course, if you use discard, let's say 6, it's not there, right? And then no complaints. So that's what you need to remember about lists. Right. Any questions? Right. Next one, let's move on to dictionaries. Another very interesting data structure. Now, if you go back again, revisit what we have discussed with the list and tuples. So what we did, we create a list of items, right? And then when you want to access an item, you use an index. The problem with the numerical index is you have to memorize the locations in some places, which is very difficult, right? Let's say I have data about student data in a list. Let's say I want to access their contact details. So you have to go through, find out where this index is, and then you have to use it. Bit difficult when you are going to use practical applications. So in dictionary, what happens? We use two things. We store key and values, right? The idea is later on you use keys to manipulate the dictionary. So let me start. Right. I'm going to explain how we create a dictionary. Right. First of all, we have variable. I'm going to say number dictionary. Of course, you can write in the single line, but I'm going to break down. So when I want to break down, here is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have two value pairs. We have one, and then in Japanese, I will say ichi. Right. So we have key value pair. Second item, two ni, right? And three san automatically came in. So I'm going to use this and I will print it. So you can notice that. Yes, we are using curly brackets here as well. You have two pairs. One is key, the other one is value. So the keys are 1, 2, 3. The values are ichi, ni, and san. Now, try to print what is inside the dictionary. Try to print what is inside the dictionary. Right. So in dictionaries, for example, one thing we need to highlight is we have two pairs, keys and value pairs. So in this example, we have three keys, 1, 2, 3. Three values, ichi, ni, san, right? Key value pairs. So the idea is in list and tuples, we have used numerical index and it's a bit difficult to manage. So here we can directly call these keys. So accessing items will be easier because you can directly access them, right? Okay, going back to the next one, printy will be similar. So if you say print number dict, it will print everything in a single line. But if you're using for loop, you have to be very careful. If you just use number dictionary, like what we did early, it will print only keys. Notice that only keys are printed if you use the for loop like earlier. Of course, if you need values, then you have to slightly alter this one. You have to say number dictionary dot values. Make a note of this, which gives you only the values. It will give you only the values. And if you want to use both key value pairs, you have to use items. So you will get both key and value pairs. Right. Going forward, if you want to access items, let's say first item, access first item. So the item, first one, you can say number dictionary, and you can say one, right? So which will access the first item, and you will get the value as itchy. Then updating items. So first of all, let's add items. I'm going to add the fourth one, and I will put, say, it's yawn like this. And if you print it, this is what I will get. So I add another item, the fourth item as yawn. Of course, you can change. So what happens in this statement? We'll take the fourth value and we make it a she. So you can say fourth one is yawn, we make it to she. And this time when you run the dictionary, you can say fourth one is called she. If you want to remove, you can use del method here as well. We can say del. I will say number dictionary. I'll put 2. So you will notice that second item is gone. You remove. Right. Just to summarize what we have covered, we covered the 4 data structures. We have list, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. Any questions on this? Okay, we come to the last part of today's session. Okay, let me explain one thing using a string. Okay, string also you can think of as a list of characters, or you can say sequence of characters, right? And using index, you can access individual strings. But remember, it's immutable. You cannot change the content. Right. Very first thing that I'm going to discuss here is the use of index. We already discussed the first item, the starting point start with index 0 and goes like this. In similar way, you can come back, we call forward indexing. If you say -1, it will print the last one. -2 next to the last one, and so on. This is called backward indexing. So I hope you know what the 0 means, positive indexes and negative indexes. Right. Now, said that, can you check the following, these ones? And maybe you can report your answers. So in this particular case, if you look at the indexing, I told you if you use positive values, it's called forward indexing. So in this particular example, we have a string value. And when you use indexes, you can individually access each of these characters. Right, let me show you how it happens. So the string we say S. And we said dialogue. And when you say S note, it means D. So there are 2 ways that you can do. So if you say S note, And if you use S minus 6, right? Both values are D's, right? So in forward indexing, it's 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. So backward indexing is -6. Similarly, S3 is equal to S minus 3. S5 is equal to S minus 1. So you can notice this. So if you ask me like when to use what, whenever you want to access something from the beginning, use forward indexing. If you want to access something from the end, use backward indexing. For example, the first one, we use S naught, that is the best value. If it has the last item, then it's S minus 1. Right. Now, I'm going to discuss the slicing operation, which is very important. When you have a situation like this, sometimes we need to access part of this. So I'm going to explain using the same string, but that can be applied to a list, or even you can apply it to a dictionary. So I'm going to use, right? Let me explain. Slice operation, slice operation. So slice operation means you can access anything, right, in this fashion. So for example, you can specify start value, stop value, and then step value, right? And make a note of this, right? So if you have just 3 values, then you have start, stop, and step. You got the point, right? So for example, so if I use this, can you guess what you have? 0 to 4. We'll say S. Yes. So you will have dialogue, right? So if you say 0 to 4, what it means? 0 means the first one, starting value. Then 1, 2, 3, the first 4 characters, right? So if you run this, observe that you are getting first 4 characters. So you are getting dial. So the shortest form is, remember, just you say 4. First 4 characters. 0, you don't have to specify. It's the same. A quick question. If I want to access the first 3 elements, what is the compact code we can have? Yes. If I want to access the first 3 elements, what is the code? Right. Going back to the next one. So the question that I asked, first 3 characters, we can say print S. Notice that. Just put 3. This is useful. Let's say you want to access a data set, and then you want to get the first 10 columns. You say :10. Right. Hope you understood that one. What about this one? What is the outcome of this? If I say S 0 to 6, Right. Let's move on. When we say 0 to 6, start to stop, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This we can shorten. We can say X colon. So the both the commands are the same, which will print everything. So when you say just colon, make a note of this. It's same as you are printing everything. Again, very important. Right. Now, can you guess the outcome from this? We have 3, 6, and we have 2. Okay, before that, let me put like this. Let me say 3 to 6. What is the outcome? Yes, what happens when you say 3 to 6? The starting value is 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. Fourth character. Fourth character. Up to the last one, right? So last item you can ignore. You can say this is the shortest form. You say 3, which will give the same answer here. Make a note of this one as well. Right. Next, let me give you like this. Give me the answer. S3, 6, 2. Tell me what happens here. Right. So if you go from here, it says you start with the fourth letter with the step of 2. So we have dialogue, dialogue. So the third one, that means the fourth is L. Step is 2. So that means you are going to skip one at a time. So we get LG, right? Right. A same command we can write down. Since it goes from 3 to N, you can put it like this. That you don't have to specify last value. Right. Next ones, we have print. We will have 0, 6. We have 1. So what is the command? If you run it, it's everything. Sorry, I forgot S. Yes. So the shortest command for this one is, we can say S colon colon. You got my point? One last one. So what about this? Can you guess the outcome? Right. So it means like you print every other character. Colon, colon indicate that everything 0 to 6, and we have 2. Okay. What about this one? What about this one? You start with the -1 last character. Step is -1. So you will get GOLAID, right? You get this. And the shortest version of this is colon, colon, -1. Right. Any question up to this place? Anything that we have discussed up to this point? So are we clear up to this point? Yes. Anything that you want to clarify? Okay, with that means we are ready to start with the NumPy, right? Which means we have clear everything we have done up to this point. Okay, then we'll have a small quiz just to check how much you have absorbed up to this point. Right. Can you go to www.kahoot.it? We are going to have a small Kahoot session. Right. So when you're log in with your registration number. Make sure that you use your registration number to logged in. You go to www.kahoot.it, put your registration number,